Good morning,
Nice.
undergrounders, and welcome. We are chatting with Rhett Miller of Old 97s today. I'm so excited to have you with us.
Hello, Kitty. How are you doing?
I am fabulous. I did a deep dive into you and was like, he's way more popular and famous than I thought.
Ha. Well, thank you. I don't
Thank
know
you.
that
Thank
that's
you for
true, but I'll
joining me.
take it.
You have a soundtrack song on a Disney movie.
Yeah. We're in the Marvel. I'm a named character in the Marvel universe.
A named character?
Yeah, but so I wrote a song with James Gunn that's the opening credits to the holiday special of the Guardians of the Galaxy, and my character Beezer McAtakalak sings it to Chris Pratt. We have a whole scene together. I have dialogue with him. It was terrifying.
Terrifying. That's so. It popped up this morning when I was listening to the music because I part of my deep dive into is I like to find out so I can have an idea. Like I've seen you in show, so I knew what you did on your own. I was like, what does the rest of the group do? And that popped up. I was like, wait,
Yeah,
I watched half of that movie.
yeah.
I didn't catch this. But at the time I also didn't know like who you were. So
Yeah,
I
you
wouldn't
wouldn't have
have caught it.
recognized me either because I'm in full alien makeup in that. It took 3 hours every morning to put that latex head on. Every band member had to go through 3 hours of makeup. It was really fun, and then it took another hour to remove it at the end of the day.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it was a
That's
lot.
that is a lot. But I was like, "Oh, wow. I have somebody
It was kind of
important."
it was funny too because I got to spend all this time with Chris Pratt and like Palm Clementif, who's like my like celebrity crush. I thought she's so cute. The one who plays Mantis with a, like
Yeah.
all these actors, and we were like broing down and talking like all this great personal, great conversations. And then I realized none of them will ever recognize me if we meet again because I look like a giant, big headed alien. And if we ever meet again, I'll just be me. And so
Oh,
sad, so sad.
you
Those
you
I
just
friendships.
choked on my soda
I,
because they'll never recognize you. That's so sad.
right, that's what I was just saying, but you
But the
had the
makeup part is cool.
experience. And that's
Yes,
cool.
yeah, it was
That is
great.
that's very cool. I yeah. Um so I did and you write your own music. I saw you've been writing music since you were 13.
Yeah, which is crazy. And I'm 53 now, so that's 40 years of
I
songwriting,
I know. I
which
was
is
like,
probably
wow.
why now I'm transitioning into teaching more songwriting at songwriting retreats and colleges and stuff.
Oh.
I really love it. I
Kind of
love
the
teaching it.
like after what the stars do when it's time to take the next step. Like what do you do after 40 years? That's what I always have to ask like what's the next step there? What's the progression?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I love playing, and I'll never stop doing shows. But I have been losing some of my voice lately. I've been to some specialists, and I've got a cyst and a node and all this stuff, and I'm try and keep it going as long as I can. But I started thinking, like, what if my voice was to go altogether? Then what? So nobody's getting rich off writing those kids' books. So I right now, as long as I can keep working for the next 4 years, I've got my daughter starts college in the fall, and my son has another couple of years. I just got to pay for those things. Just get me through that, and then we'll be good.
Right? Then you're like, I'm gonna settle in for retirement in life.
Maybe, or just calm down a little
Maybe.
bit.
Calm down. Yeah. So you started writing at 13, but you did your first show at 15?
hmm And I
What
was
was
kind
that
of
like at 15?
um, it just felt right. I mean, it seems weird, but that was the beginning of the next 5 years. I was sort of like a child prodigy, teen folky, the folk singer playing around town, opening up for like all the punk rock bands that would come through. Lords of the New Church and Red Cross came through. Frank Black from the Pixies came through on a solo tour, and I opened for him in high school. I remember opening for Chris Isaac right as Wicked Game was breaking through as a hit song, and just I was the go-to rock club opener because I was a solo act, and I was so easy, and I was also, I think I was a bit of you know um uh, kind of a special thing to have some like little 14, 15, 16-year-old kid opening for these adult rock and roll bands. So it seems weirder than it did to me because at the time it was just like, oh yeah, this is what I do. I write songs and now I sing them for people on stage. And I felt like I never felt like I was super brave, but in retrospect, having kids now that are teenagers, I'm like, oh yeah, I guess I must have been kind of brave or stupid, brave and stupid.
At 15, on I was the pageant kid, so like
Yeah.
sometimes it was like, oh, did you ever have one of those moments where you got up on stage and everything went wrong?
Yeah, boy, see, it was probably the same thing because anytime you're on a stage facing a bunch of people and they're all facing you, looking at you, the the imbalance of that is so weird. So you're on a pageant stage, it's the same thing. Yeah, usually it was when there was a technical difficulty. Like I remember opening when I was 17, I opened for Roseanne Cash at this big theater in Dallas, the Arcadia Theater, which is now gone. And I had a 12 string acoustic guitar and I didn't bring a backup guitar. And it was a big sold out show. And I'm friends now with Roseanne Cash. We've written songs together. We've done a bunch of stuff. And I've thanked her for this before because she was really cool about it. But I decided I was going to play David Bowie's Young Americans. And so I'm on stage and it's a long song and it's a hard song to sing. And it's just really, for me, I was playing it really aggressively on my 12 string guitar, broke a string, broke another string. I ended up breaking 3 strings, and when you break that many strings on an acoustic guitar on a 12 string, it's almost impossible to even get it to go back in tune. And I ended up just saying thank you very much and good night and walking off the stage. And Rose was there on the side of the stage, and she said, "Don't worry about it. Happens all the time. Good gigs, bad gigs." And she was just so cool about it. But yeah, that's when I would stress out. It wasn't so much the getting in my head like, oh, these people are looking at me. What if I screw up? Because that's the job, singing through that thought.
That would be, I would be, I would have gotten off stage and cried.
Yeah, pretty much. That's
I would have just been like so overwhelmed and just, I knocked over the stage back once. So,
wow.
yeah.
Were you dancing or something? Or
Yes.
Yeah.
Lost my balance, got too close to the back and kind of like lost my balance and like went back.
Oh my god.
And I felt it start to turn and I like turned around to try to grab it.
Oof.
Not work.
Oh my god. Did you
so
win that one?
No. No, I did not. that was my horrifying stage presence moment. It was, yeah. So just being at that like age, I walked off stage and cried. I was so embarrassed.
Oh, that's tough. To me, pageant seems like it would be really tough. You probably started really young.
I did mine for just like a few years during the teenage years.
Oh, okay, cool. So it wasn't like
It was, yeah, it was
Little
kind
Miss
of
Sunshine.
more, yeah, no, it was more of one of those things where like I just needed like that boost, that
Yeah,
confidence boost, and that's where I got it. That's where it helped. That's what it was for.
interesting.
None of my kids ever did them. They never got into any of that stuff.
Yeah,
So I was like, all right. Well, I had cheer. We had one in
yeah,
cheer.
that's fun.
So it was fun, but
I played in too
crazy.
much mud for that.
Yeah. That kid was in the mud all the time. So, yeah, I just went down your little like rabbit hole of stuff. I see you have some new music coming out.
The new record came out at the beginning of April, so we're now 2 months out from that, and it's been great. The single "Where the Road Goes" has been all over the radio, and it's been on the charts, and it was in the top 3 on the Americana chart for like a month, and it's been in the top 40 of the Billboard AAA chart for a while. And so, as much as that means anything anymore, which is not very much, it's been good at radio, and the reviews on the record have been the best ever. I mean, sales are what they are. Nobody buys records anymore. Like, why would you? But when you can just
I do.
stream everything for free, well, that's nice. It's just mostly people are being supportive and buying like a tchotchke.
Do you guys not get any kind of like a kickback from the streaming services at all?
I mean, technically there is one, but it's not something that you would ever even notice going into your bank account.
Oh, because I know that I pay for like a premium streaming service so I can have access to everything.
Sure.
So
Me too.
I didn't know. I'm like, if I'm paying for that service, I feel like the bands should be getting some kind of
Yeah, you feel
kickback every time.
you would think, but no, the record labels made a deal so that it's just hard. It aggregates out where you're getting, that I'm sure you've seen the musicians like me complaining about the it's point oh 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 whatever 1%. Like you would have to have millions of streams to get any kind of significant money, like millions. I mean, we do have millions, but you'd have to have hundreds of millions.
Oh,
So
wow.
it's
So
no, it's
really,
yeah.
selling your merch is very important at a show.
Isn't that funny? Because the margins on shows, like I've done pretty well. That's doing gigs and getting the guarantees and the ticket sales. That's how I've fed my kids. Mostly even the solo shows, because the band shows more people come to those, but the overhead and the splitting it's I make less. But like when I go to Motorco and I play a gig, that's my main source of income. And if I'm lucky enough to have a song played in a commercial or a TV show or whatever, that's good too. Those are the last two real sources of income.
Okay. Yeah, I have a small collection. We've gotten to this point where I'm like buying vinyls now when I go to shows.
Nice.
I bought a new truck and they don't have CD players in trucks anymore.
Yeah, it's true.
Like none of the vehicles have CD players in them anymore. So I'm like, well, why would I buy a CD?
My
So I started
son,
buying vinyls.
yeah, my son has a CD player, and he asked me if I had any old CDs around, and I had to go dig so hard, and I finally found some boxes of my favorite ones that I didn't just throw away years ago. And but even for him, he doesn't end up listening to them because we're all so. It used to be amazing, so easy to put in this CD and listen to this record, and now that seems like such. Oh, I can't be bothered to put the CD in the hole and then push these buttons. Ugh, just Bluetooth my phone. Let's go.
My son, on the other hand, wants to be like, can we drive the Mustang and listen to a CD? I'm like,
Nice,
sure, I guess.
nice, nice.
Or the day where you have like the 6 disc changers and you put your favorite 6 CDs in and it
Oh
just
yeah,
plays the same 6. I miss
yeah,
that.
yeah. Or you could shuffle them. Oh my god, I couldn't believe I could
Right.
shuffle it in the car. Yeah,
That would, yeah, we've thought about getting the external CD player to hook up
yeah,
so I could still, because I have so many CDs and
yeah.
sometimes I'm like, I just want to listen to CD. I don't want to deal with my phone.
Well, that's what we've lost is the ability to curate our own music, and we've also lost sort of the unless you're using Pandora, other people, um, other people sort of introducing us to new music. That's now you just go to your Spotify and dig around and randomly, yeah. But other people like a radio station or mixtapes. If somebody would make you a mixtape, that was incredible. I loved those.
We have created, I have to tag it and attach it to our podcast channel, created a playlist
Yep, that's a mixtape,
that
I guess.
is of interviewer podcasters, people that have come onto the show. Their music is getting added to that playlist, and anybody who wants to can go check out my favorite songs, anyways,
Nice.
from each one of those groups as a way to help promote, as to get
Yeah,
it out there so people can see it. That was, or I'll throw it out on my Facebook or on Instagram. Hey, go check out this band.
nice.
That's, we very much are trying to continue to introduce our outreach to new music.
That's what it takes, right? That's that's why I've got a podcast called Wheels Off, and that's
I
why
saw
people are
that.
willing to be on my podcast. It's just there's so few outlets anymore. There's print media is going away. TV shows don't have music on them as much anymore. I feel like we've sort of as a culture have devalued music to the point now where people feel like they could just take it or leave it. But I feel like they don't really realize what the world would be like if there was no music in it.
And it's such a huge part of my life.
Yeah, me
Like,
too.
music has always been, it's what connects me to my kids and our relationships, because I've been taking them to concerts since they were, I believe, Alex and Ray were,
9.
how old were you guys when we went to go see the Birthday Massacre?
Monkey was like 5 or 6, so
Yeah, so you
I
were
would
what,
be like
12?
9.
Nine. That's great. That's a good
He's
time to
Yeah,
six,
see music.
7 years older than her.
yeah, they
Oh yeah,
yeah,
my
they
math
were
is
really
bad.
yeah, your math is bad. I think you were like that kid was like 12. I took him to actually I noticed a place you're going to be coming up later this year. First Ave in Minneapolis.
Yeah, I
It's such
love
a
First
nice
Ave.
venue. It is, but I've taken my kids several times to go see shows there. And because it's a great way to build memories with your
Yes.
friends, your family, and then bring you together because there are a few things that I will agree bring people together: food and music.
Yeah. For musicians, there's a handful of venues. First Ave is sort of the venue in the Midwest, and the Fillmore is the West Coast in San Francisco, the historic Fillmore, and the 930 Club, whose shirt I'm wearing today. They're the
Be there
club in
too.
nice, yep, but that's the club in DC, and so there's sort of these clubs that you hold up as the pinnacles of the kind of the best place where you can play, and the Fillmore, First Ave, 930 Club. Those are probably my three favorite in the U.S.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I did see that you're going to be back in this area though with the band in
Yeah,
September.
yes, I'd have to look
You've
up to
got
see exactly where, but yeah,
it's in Raleigh. The Lincoln Theater, I think is what it said.
there you go. Uh,
I
but
was
yeah, you're
just
right.
looking at
We're
all of the
Raleigh
dates.
Sunday night, Sunday the
Oh,
22nd of September at the Lincoln Theater in Raleigh,
yeah.
and
I
then
was like, to
down to
check that out.
Charleston. Yeah, we're
Yeah,
in
I saw that you have
Charlotte as well.
your
But
own your tour as a solo artist, correct?
well, it's not like so the band does tours. So the band will go out in a tour bus for 3 weeks. But then for me, anytime the band isn't touring, I'll just do like like tomorrow this week I drive away and I do New York City, Long Island, Boston, Annapolis, Providence, Rhode Island, Cape Cod, come home, and then I go fly to Toronto. We're filming a TV show in Toronto that
Fun.
I'm probably not allowed to announce which one yet, but we're on a like a you know we're playing ourselves on a TV show. Yeah, so I just fill in the holes with solo shows. So it's not even like a tour; it just never ends. These solo gigs.
Oh, keeps you busy, but you have adult children.
Yeah, Max is 20 and Soleil is 18.
And they're the inspiration for crazy this
Yeah.
crazy book. And they're all
So
grown up.
yeah, isn't that crazy? So I wrote the poems in No More Poems, the book he's holding up. When I started when they were maybe like 9 and 7, and then they quickly got a little bit too old, but they continued to help as my editors and critics as I was putting together the 40 or so poems that are in that book.
Oh. And then I saw you have the baby changing station.
That was my second book. Yeah, that just got translated into French, which was very sweet. But that's a standalone. It's like one really long rhyming story about a older brother who has a new baby brother arrive, and he, sibling rivalry. He hates the younger brother and all the attention he's getting.
That's so was there 3 children's books?
Nope, just
Or
those two.
just
I
the
may
two?
end up I
Okay.
may end up doing more, but I just got so many other things I want to do.
You have been in my notes very busy for 40 years.
Yeah, gotta
And
hustle, man.
I saw where I saw that you were editing magazines in college, high school.
Oh, I didn't go to college really. I went to one semester, but in high school I was the editor of the literary magazine, and then founded a second literary magazine. And then I've written a lot. I've had pieces in McSweeney's in the Atlantic, and whatever, a bunch of boy, Book Forum. I've written some book reviews for Book Forum that I really enjoyed doing. I've written a lot. I dream of writing longer form fiction. I'm working on a songwriting, like a how-to songwriting book right now. Yeah, just no rest for the wicked.
I guess not. You're busy is kind of like I stay busy in the same sense of how
Yeah.
I understand like busy. But when you're busy, how do you balance out your busy with your home life like through the years?
Um, I try and I keep, for me, it helps to have like a list on my bedside table, a to-do list, and I'll have, the top half will be family, house kind of stuff, and then the bottom half will be, if I can get a couple of things done for my work on a day off when I'm not gigging or whatever, as long as I can plug away. Nowadays, the Substack is on there. If I can get a little work done on the book proposal, if I can record a Wheels Off interview, if I can do a couple of professional things and then do as many of the personal things as possible, I feel like I can keep a balance, a pretty good balance.
Okay, you're doing better than me.
Ah, but notice
My
with just on,
days,
oh, your days are
my days
bad.
run on chaos.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it feels like that to me too a little bit, but I try and rein it in. Let's see how.
Alex is like, yes.
Yes.
Oh, we had an episode a couple weeks ago, and from the time that we all got on, even to the editing, it was just we have a gremlin named Chaos.
Yeah.
And I was like, is it gonna stop? Is it gonna
At
stop? It
least
was
it's not boring.
no. They were totally cool and everything was kosher and they laughed about it with us. But
Yeah.
I, for a moment, was like,
I
I'm
was
so
so
embarrassed.
mad. I was so mad. I was upsetty spaghetti that it just said, nope, not today. The Chaos Gremlins got everybody else. But then it hit me, and I'm like, man, I thought I could escape.
Nope. You can't
Yeah,
escape
it
the
was
chaos gremlin. That's pretty
no,
funny.
not that one. So with your podcast, because I listened to a little bit of it when I found it yesterday, I was like, what? He has a podcast?
Don't we all?
It's gotten to be the thing. It's, but it's a great outlet for me, I find. And it's a way for a moment communicate and have connection with someone else
Yeah.
that I might not ever get to have just that moment. So I tell the kids all the time, I may not make $1 million, but I am going to make a million memories.
Yeah. That's great. That's a great philosophy.
So this is one of those ways that I get to do it is through podcasting. But so when you announced your podcast just started this year, correct?
Oh no, no! It was pre-pandemic. I'm about to hit my 200th episode, or I may already
Oh,
have. Yeah, I should be keeping
okay.
track of this a little better. But yeah, Wheels Off. When I started, it was pre-pandemic because I would go to people's houses with lavalier microphones and a digital recorder, and um, and track them down. And like I would, one of my early ones was Tig Notaro, and I remember her kids were being really loud downstairs, and we just sat on the floor in her bedroom, with our little lavalier microphones, and it was so, and something like that is so intimate. And then once the pandemic hit, it was all. I started actually on Skype, and then realized that it's all Zoom all day now apparently, and yeah, but so it's been for me. It's been Zoom for the last 4 years, but it's been maybe been about 5 years.
Okay,
200
yeah.
episodes.
We have a lot of background noise that goes on here too.
Oh, that's all right.
Every
And
now and then my son will walk in and I have to be like, stop, or the dogs will bark. So today we're, knock on wood, having
yes,
a
and I think
good
people
time.
expect that. People expect that when they hear. Oh, okay, my most recent one, I just looked it up. I'm 3 away. My most recent one was episode 197.
Awesome. Okay. I'm going to have to add it to my podcast list
It's
of
pretty good. A lot of musicians, and then some
random.
novelists and comedians and actors and sportscasters.
That's cool. I like that. We've kind of in a way like set our guests as just being mostly musical.
Yeah,
But there's a few other areas I would like to bring into the show down the
yeah,
road.
yeah,
But right now our focus is very much on musicians, songwriters, singers, bands, groups, and just helping really a lot of bands that don't that haven't been around nearly as
Yeah.
long or don't have the history that you have, and like share them with the world, because
Yeah.
I love to share things that I musically enjoy.
Nice.
And then when they're awesome people and they take the time out, I really want to share it.
Well, it's good karma. My wife always asks me, she's like, "Are you ever going to make any money doing the podcast?" And I was like, "Probably not. I've never made a penny, but I get so much out of it, like you're saying, the experience of talking to people, and then really good things have come out of it professionally. Like the most recent solo record I did, the cover is a painting by Ashley Longshore, who is like the Andy Warhol of our time. She's this incredible painter whose paintings sell for like $400,000, and she was willing to just create a painting for my album cover because we hit it off on the podcast. So I mean, good things come out of it, even if it's not a check, you know.
Yeah. That's where I'm at. I'm like, if I do, I do. If I don't, I don't.
Yeah.
But I'm making connections. We're making new friends, and that's important
Yep.
in a time where everything I feel like is lived through our phones,
Yeah.
or through whatever social media app everyone is using.
Yeah. Well, it's nice. This is not virtual. This is, I mean, despite the fact that we're interfacing via technology, it's still like a human conversation, which is
Yes.
great.
And that's what I have tried to tell people. It's like, I want to have conversations, but I don't necessarily want to have it like a structured. Yes, I went through and I looked a bunch of points up about you so I could have a talking point, but the conversations are going to go where they're going to go, and you never know what you're going to hear,
Yeah. And
which I think is
I tend to just start going, and then 10 minutes later, I realize that I've been talking for 10 minutes. So it's either good or bad.
it's all good. We've had some interesting stuff pop up. Um, I did also see that we're going to backtrack here. You in 2016 became part of a, I don't know if it was like a benefit or a program, or it's okay to say. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Oh, yeah. So really for the last maybe 12 years or so, I've been really trying to find opportunities to work on behalf of mental health, especially teen mental health, and destigmatizing conversations around mental health and suicide prevention. And Okay to Say is a program down in Texas, that's doing that. It's trying to sort of reach out to kids, especially during adolescence, which is, I felt like for me, which was when I had my biggest suicide attempt and I had my worst times. I felt like adolescence is such a tricky, fraught, difficult time, and so I really especially wanted during to sort of find a way to be a part of something that was helping kids realize that this is normal. There's people around that want to help you, and like those decisions that are irrevocable, don't go there. So especially when my kids hit the age I was 14 when I tried to kill myself, and it should have worked. I was very lucky that I survived, and I've gone on to find a lot of meaning in life, primarily through music and family and friends. um, but I wish, I want kids to know, and maybe teenagers don't like being called kids, but I call my own kids kids. But I want young people to know when they're struggling that there's another side, and that if you survive this, if you can find a way to survive this, you're gonna more than likely wind up being very grateful that you survived. So yeah, Okay to Say was one of the programs I found that was down in Texas. There's been a few like that I'm really grateful that there's people out there doing this kind of work, because you know it's hard, and it's only gotten harder since I was a kid to be a kid. It's just, to be a human is hard, but especially when you're young.
Oh yeah, I agree. There's so much that goes on with kids. Like when my kids were younger and in that like high school time, it was a hard struggle
Yeah.
for them, and we had moved and all those transitions, and just it was. And I always was like, I'm here. You don't ever have to not want to hang out. Like, I can always be that person to talk to. For their friends and stuff, our house got to be a safe space.
Sure. I could see
Like,
that.
everybody knew you could come to my house. It's cool. It's a safe space. If you're having a problem, let's all powwow about it.
Yeah.
Because we didn't, where we were at, these kind of programs like this were not something that were highly, looking for the word, told about,
Emphasized. Yeah.
emphasized. There we go.
Prioritized.
Prioritized. They just weren't there. And so I like that I saw that on there, and I was like, oh, I like this.
Yeah. Well, it's,
Kind of a,
there's so much of rock and roll is, I don't think it's as like narcissistic or self-congratulatory as it maybe seems to the outside world. I think that, what we do making music, people that make music, it is a gift that we're giving the world. And there's something even maybe kind of noble about this job. But it is also sort of anti-intellectual, and it is also, there's a lot of it that's just partying and kind of, joking around and going from town to town. So to be able to find some ways to try and do things that are, like objectively meaningful and giving back, and so they're a little bit few and far between. Talk about emphasize. Rock and roll doesn't emphasize a lot of things that are, you know, meaningful. And so I've tried to, I haven't done much. I'm nobody's hero, but I do try. I try to mentor younger artists that are coming up. Over the years, I've had a lot of younger artists that I've really tried to share whatever wisdom I've been able to accumulate with them, and I feel like that's so rewarding, and especially now because I was lucky enough to come up in a time and be a part of the major label system where there was money and there was marketing budgets, and so like I was able to build an audience when that infrastructure still existed, and younger artists coming up now don't have that. So whenever I can do whatever I can do to try and help younger artists, I try and do that. I guess the last 14 or 15 years, I've been doing a cystic fibrosis benefit down in Dallas every fall, and that's incredible. Meeting people whose lives are affected by cystic fibrosis, and being able to watch with that disease, the life expectancy has gone up so much in the 15 years since we started doing our benefit, not because of our benefit, but it didn't hurt. But they've come up with these new drugs that they haven't cured cystic fibrosis, but pretty close. And I mean that not the life expectancy and quality of life of people with CF is so much better now. But so it's that kind of stuff, um, that's really meaningful. And so that sort of balances out some of the more brain dead rock and roll, just like going from town to town, singing songs about my feelings kind of a thing.
but we want to know your feelings.
Sure. Well, that's what the songs are made of. And it's fun. And I do feel like that is important in its own way too. But sometimes the songs are just stupid, which is
And
fine.
that's, yeah, I was gonna say sometimes it's okay.
Yeah.
There's a couple of songs that'll come on in the car when Alex and I are together, and we will just look at each other and laugh
Yeah.
because they're nonsense. But
Yeah.
that's what makes them fun, when they're nonsense.
Totally.
But at the same time, if you're having a bad day and that one song comes on and you're like, they understand me.
Yep.
Were you in my head?
And that's
For
how
a
it happened
minute,
for
you're
me. When I was so depressed and lonely, it was other people's songs that I listened to, and it made me feel like I wasn't alone. And so that's what I remind myself now when I'm doing songs. I'm like, maybe this will mean something to someone else.
yeah. Because I there are times where I'm like that. I'm like, you're in my head.
Yeah.
You didn't know that you were in my head
Right?
when you wrote this entire album.
It's that universal thing. And I think there's something about when people are writing really personal stuff that's maybe very specific to their life, that's what winds up feeling so universal. And when people try to write something that's oh, I'm going to write a song everyone can relate to, and it's going to be very broad and general. That's not as it doesn't. Those songs don't end up to me usually landing as well as the ones that are just really specific. You know, even if it's not a personal true story, but if it's a specific moment in a life, that winds up feeling more universal. If that makes sense.
Yeah. It does. I get what you're saying. So changing things around. Um, when you were in Motorco, you were telling lots of stories about artists that you had worked with.
Name dropping. Yeah.
You were, but it was like artists like that would be. I know there was one that you were like they were my age now when I worked with them. I don't remember who it was.
Waylon Jennings, maybe, or
That was like
Dolly
that was
Parton.
it.
Yeah.
You were talking about being in the studio with him.
Yeah, that was crazy.
So you worked with a lot of stars throughout the years on collabs.
Yeah, I've been
Which
pretty
one was your
lucky.
favorite? Do you have like a
Mm.
favorite collab that you've done?
Oh God. I mean that Waylon Jennings was pretty hard to beat because Waylon, like, not only did he have his whole career as Waylon Jennings, but like he was a part of so many of people my age, our childhood, as the narrator on Dukes of Hazzard, and that's when the Duke boys realized they were in a real pickle, you know,
I
and
love that show.
I know, and so his voice was like a part of my childhood, and then the fact that he was played in the Crickets with Buddy Holly, and when I was growing up, Buddy Holly was one of my heroes. This awkward Texas songwriter who occasionally sang, like he's somebody I really related to, and the fact that when we were working with Waylon Jennings, he was telling stories about Buddy Holly and just the through line from like this 1950s rock star that I'd idolized when I was a little kid in the 70s. And then there I was in the 90s with Waylon Jennings, and he's this older artist telling me, firsthand stories about, he talked about when Buddy Holly died and Waylon Jennings got all choked up telling me the story all those years later. And, it's just, it, it makes me realize that when people say it's a small world, that's a glib observation, but it's also like a cold, hard fact. It is a small world. And these people that we think are larger than life, godlike figures, they're also just people, and they grew up in a town and they went to high school and they had this group of friends. And as you go through your life, you'll get closer and closer as you bounce around other human beings to these other people that you don't even think are people, but they are. And so it also makes for younger artists, I try to emphasize this to them, these people that you think you could never do what they do, they were once kids who thought they could never do what their heroes did. So just know that we all have in us the potential to be a godlike figure to someone coming up after us. Like we all have the potential to be a hero. We all have the potential to make art or even just do something with our lives that's going to wind up meaning a lot to someone that's coming up behind us. So and I think that the way Waylon Jennings treated me with such respect and open heartedness, and he didn't have to be, he could have rock starred me from dawn to dusk, and that would have been fine, but he treated me as an equal and talked to me like a peer and was super you know cool and generous and with his wisdom, and it was so great. And so I've always thought about that as I've gotten to be older, and there's younger people that have looked up to me that have come along, and I just try to remember the way Waylon Jennings treated me, or when I met Dolly Parton, or even though I never met him, Bob Dylan, the way that he responded when we had a Bob Dylan ripoff song that we wanted to get his permission, and he loved it and gave us half the publishing and let me keep half the credit. And so I have a song I wrote, technically with Bob Dylan, and he didn't have to be cool like that, but he was, and it means a lot. And I think it's easy to lose sight of that when you start getting smoke blown up your ass as you have success, and think that you don't have the time for people. But if you make the time, I feel like, boy, the karma wheel goes around and comes around.
For sure. I have always been very strong about that. What you're sending out is what you're going to get back at the end of the day.
Yes, Totally.
So I do agree in the karma wheel 100%. Always. Let's see. What else is on my list of stuff? I think we've actually gone through my list.
I love it. Well, this is super fun. I love what you're doing. I'm sorry
Thank
Alex had to
you.
work, but I get
Me
it.
too.
I,
There's Alex.
chase that money, Playboy. Keep it 100.
I can try.
So where can people find you at, Rhett?
So my Instagram account is the one thing that I personally run well, and then that feeds the stupid Facebook account, which I never look at, and Twitter I've basically logged off of for good. I don't live on TikTok because my kids told
Yeah.
me it would be so cringe if I get on TikTok, even though they do tell me that there's a couple of songs of mine that get used. And there's one in particular, a song off my solo record from 20 years ago, The Instigator. There's a song called This Is What I Do. And they're like, "Oh my God, Dad, your song This Is What I Do is on TikTok." And I'm like, "Oh, what kind of videos are people making with it?" And they're like, "Oh, so it'll be like some plumber, and he's like some old guy plumber, and he's under a sink and he's fixing some pipe, and it'll be like, this is what I do," and he's like, "And then you turn the pipe." And I'm like, well, that sounds horrible. So, but
I am not a
yeah,
TikToker either. We have one.
yep,
I don't use it very often.
no,
There's so much controversy going on with TikTok these days.
I'm not a
So
fan. Yeah.
yeah, we are. I run our Instagram and our Facebook a lot, so
Cool.
I understand the Facebook and the Instagram world.
Yeah. But the in real life is the best way, and the old 97s are in the Midwest in August, and then the East Coast in September, and I'm kind of everywhere in between. And so, you
I saw
know,
that.
our websites are, just Google it. Those dates are out there. Believe me, those people are trying to sell tickets, so help them out.
I will. I'll flash it up on our
Yeah.
Facebook.
Thank you. Thank you
I
so
start
much.
posting stuff about a week before the episodes drop. I start pushing
Great.
episodes and shout outs to our guest. So you'll
I'll
be.
I'll amplify that stuff as well. I'll be excited
Thank
to see
you.
when this pops up.
I'm excited. So yeah, thank you so much for joining us today, and I hope that you have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thank you, Kitty. Thank you, Alex. Thanks, you
You're
guys. Take
welcome.
care.
Bye.
Bye.